600 minutes, 525,000 moments, oh dear.
525,000. Don't make me sing at you. You know I'll do it. 525,600 minutes in a year. You heard them. And almost as many news stories about robocalls. According to the media database Infomart, since 2012, there have been 3,581 news stories in Canada written on this subject, including more than 1,000 bylined by Stephen Marr and nearly as many by Glenn McGregor, the toast of the media party. Wow, they love that story. Almost one story for every minute of the year, except there was no there. Today, Elections Canada, not exactly the most pro-Tory people in the world, I think you'll agree with me on that, admitted it was all a bunch of sound and fury signifying nothing. There just wasn't evidence to pursue charges. There wasn't even evidence of a crime. Those 525,600 stories, they weren't actually about the news or the facts. They were about the media party itself, their campaign to get the Conservatives and somehow prove that Stephen Harper was an illegitimate prime minister. Seriously, some of them actually said that. Well, joining us now to talk about this absolutely stunning setback for the dominant media narrative is our friend, the host of Battleground, David Akin. David, great to see you. What do you make of this?
Well, it is, I think this should put robocalls to rest. It won't, because there are, as you certainly know, a lot of people out in the country, and forget about media, but we're talking about groups like Council of Canadians, etc., who do not like Stephen Harper. And as you mentioned, they think that the Harper majority, won in 2011, was illegitimately won. And this was their greatest, best hope to prove that the Harper government was illegitimate. And remember what the conspiracy was here, that there was a vast nationwide conspiracy organized and coordinated at Conservative Party headquarters or something to phone up thousands upon thousands of Canadians, redirect them to the wrong polling booths, and in doing so make sure that only Conservative voters showed up at polling booths and only Conservatives won. It was, I think, nonsense as a conspiracy theory. Even if you accepted it, the election wouldn't have changed. And now Elections Canada says there wasn't even a crime, let alone someone who should be charged. And what's important to point out here, too, Elections Canada, you're right, they're no friend of the Tory government. They find no crime here, but they have found a crime somewhere, and that is in Guelph. And they have charged someone, a former Conservative staffer named Michael Stone, who right now is at trial for robocalls. And what happened in Guelph? The Liberals won. So even this conspiracy where they found one in Guelph wasn't really that effective because the Liberals cleaned up, even though the Conservatives there are accused of trying to cheat.
And we already have a conviction for robocalls by the CRTC. Frank Valeriat, a Liberal MP, was convicted. That wasn't
he paid a fine.
$3,000. Yeah, that's right. Now, I think we've got a clip, Hannah, tell me if I'm right, of Terry Milewski. I like Terry, by the way. I think he's one of the best investigative reporters at the CBC. I have a personal affection for him because I think he likes free speech. But he got a little carried away with this conspiracy theory, too. Take a look at this clip, David. This just shows the mania that was out there a few years ago. Take a look.
Now, CBC News has turned up voters all over the country.
The scandal involving misleading phone calls during the last federal election is widening.
Something happened to the benefit of Conservative campaigns.
Growing list of some 34 ridings all across the country where Liberals or the NDP allege dirty tricks, which tends to point to something more than a bunch of local rogue operations of which the National Party was totally unaware.
I love Terry's style, I won't lie to you, but by God, he was wrong, and so were the two media party heroes. David, you've got a few excerpts. I mean, you and I have our point of view, but let's give some time to the actual statements by Elections Canada. Do you want to read out some of their findings
and
today?
This is from Yves Côté. He's the top elections cop in the country. Here's what he said. The evidence uncovered in the investigation is not sufficient to give me reasonable grounds to believe that an offense was committed. No crime here, he's saying. Then he goes on, as a result, I will not refer the matter to the independent, I'm adding that word, Director of Public Prosecutions, the legal test for such a referral under the important subsection of the Act not having been met. And one more thing to point out here is that, well, we'll just keep going, certain factual elements could not be uncovered. In some cases, investigators were able to confirm the complainants received a political call, but found that no additional evidence of its content. In most cases, no evidence was found to confirm whether or not a complainant was called. And again, this is Yves Côté, who just recently has been complaining to a parliamentary committee that he doesn't like, the government's Fair Elections Act. He wants more power for his office, and yet here he's saying there's no crime here. And lest we think that Yves Côté was in the tank with the Conservatives, this investigation, the entire contents, were then given to a former Supreme Court of Canada judge, Louise Charon, and she reviewed it, and she says, yeah, it's great, good investigation. You've been thorough, you've been competent, you've done everything you can do, and you're right. There's no crime here. That's what a former Supreme Court of Canada justice says. And just to put even a finer point on it, the Côté says Canadians have every right to be concerned that and want to know that their elections are fair and above board and transparent. And he says Canadians have every right to continue to think that way.
And he specifically called it a conspiracy theory, didn't he? He said there ain't no conspiracy. And there are truthers out there. I'm going to call them truthers. The Council of Canadians, which, as Daniel Prusalides revealed last week, gets $1.6 million a year from the United States. They were the ones who hired a lawyer to go to the court, didn't they? Didn't they hire that lawyer Shribman to take this to the court?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And you're absolutely right. Elements that are very close to this, yes, tried to get into a court to overturn some of the results in some ridings, all Conservative-held ridings in the last election, and the court said,
are truthers.
No, nothing here. Well,
they are so tenacious because this is their dream. This is their secret weapon. We can't defeat Harper at the polls, but maybe we can find this silver bullet. David, we're out of time, but this has been my most enjoyable segment of the day.
I think you're going to keep talking about robocalls nonetheless, my friend. You're going to have more fun with this before it's all done.
I think you're right. David Aiken, thanks so much for joining us today. It's great to see you again.